Thank you for joining us. We are delighted to have you once again. Our today's topic is creating pivot tables and pivot charts. Sometimes it's hard to see the big picture when your raw data hasn't been summarized. Your first instinct may be to create a pivot table, but not everyone can look at numbers in a table and quickly see what's going on. Pivot charts are a great way to add data visualizations to your data. A pivot table is a powerful tool to calculate, summarize, and analyze data that lets you see comparisons, patterns, and trends in your data. Pivot tables work a little bit differently depending on what platform you are using to run Excel. By the end of this topic, you will be able to filter and extract significance about the data set you are working with, create visualizations that are interactive for anyone viewing them, use vast amount of functions that can be instantly applied to the data in the columns and rows, make calculations that would otherwise require long formula inserted in each cell, create new fields that are calculated from function made up of other fields. Represent your filtered findings as a data scientist with a bar chart, line chart, pie chart, etc. that is interactive for anyone using them. Next, let us get started. Excel tables let you store and summarize your data in a flexible and efficient manner. You can greatly extend the capability of Excel tables by creating pivot tables and pivot charts, which let you rearrange and summarize your data quickly. In this video, I will show you how to create and work with pivot tables and also pivot charts. In this workbook, I have an Excel table that contains monthly revenue data for 3 different airline routes, and I'd like to create both a pivot table and a pivot chart. You can create both at the same time, but for this tutorial, I will show you how to create a pivot table and then create a pivot chart from that. To begin, click any cell in your Excel table, and then on the Insert tab of the ribbon, click the pivot table down arrow and click from Table/Range. So I have a pivot table from a table or range. The table name is monthly revenue, and that's the data that's selected in the worksheet. I want to add it on a new worksheet, and I am not going to add this data to the data model. The data model is a more advanced topic that's beyond the scope of this course. With that selection place, I'll go ahead and click OK. And my pivot table has been created. From here, I can go over to the PivotTable Fields task pane, and I can add fields to the pivot table itself. If you look down, you'll see we have 4 areas. We have filters, which is used to apply a filter to a pivot table without changing its layout, then columns, rows, and values. And rather than explain, I'll just demonstrate what happens when we put a field in each of those places. So I'll start by putting the year field in rows, and you can see that I have a list of 2020 and 2021, which are the 2 years for which I have data. Below that, I will add quarter. So I have a second level of organization. And then in the columns area, I will drag route. So there we have Accra route, Zanzibar route, and Paris route. And then I'll drag revenue to the values area. And you can see that we have summaries of total revenue by quarter for each of our 3 airline routes for the years 2020 and 2021. I will zoom in a little bit by increasing the zoom level so it's easier to see all of the data. And I'll scroll down there. If I wanted to change the organization of the pivot table, for example, if I wanted to limit my analysis to just years instead of quarters, I could drag the quarter field back to the fields list, and you can see that it's been taken away from the organization of the pivot table. And if I wanted to drag it back down, I could. And I could also put route below year and month, so I would have a single column of data. So if I drag route below month, and you can see a green line indicating where it will go when I drop it. So there I have January Accra route for 2020, Zanzibar route, Paris route, then move on to February, and so on. If I move down here and I drag route above month, then you'll see that I have bath products for the entire year of 2020, followed by the same for Accra route, Paris route, and then repeating for 2021. In this case, I think it's better to have the airline routes back in columns. So I'll drag route to the columns area and scroll back up. And I still have months in place. So I will drag month to the field list. And now I have my data displayed only by year. You probably noticed that the values in the values area are not formatted. If we go back to the original table, you'll see that we have accounting format here for the sales data, and that does not carry over to a pivot table. If you want to apply formatting to the values field, you can right-click any value field cell and then click Value Field Settings. Then in the bottom left, click Number Format, and here you can select the format that you want. I'll click Accounting again. 2 decimal places, Kenya shilling sign is fine. Click OK. OK again. And the format has been applied. As you can see, pivot tables can summarize a lot of data in a very compact space. The same is true for a pivot chart. And if I want to create a pivot chart, I can click any cell on the pivot table, then on the Insert tab, I can go to the Charts group and click the type of chart I want to create. In this case, I will go up to the column or bar chart button, click that, then I'll click 2D column, and you can see that I have my summary. And again, it is broken down by route for Accra, Zanzibar, and Paris routes. If I want to change the arrangement of the pivot chart, then I can simply make the change over in the PivotTable Fields task pane. I'll drag route below year. And you can see that I now have year and route as subsets. And just compare, if I drag route back, you can see that I have a slightly different arrangement. As always, experiment with different configurations, and find the one that works best for your dashboard. All of the aspects shown above are reasons why pivot tables and pivot charts are one of the most important tools in Excel, and an extremely important part of data science. Both can be used to do difficult and time-consuming tasks quickly and easily. Pivot tables can be used by managers to get a breakdown of the revenues from each of their individual departments or products, trying to figure out which product performed best against in different years. Pivot charts allow data scientists to show their clients the information they want, but also explore other numbers that may not have been highlighted. The power of these methods to take large amounts of data and shrink it down into different smaller tables is something that can be useful to what any data scientist is doing. Thanks for watching.